All right. What's going on, guys? I'm here with my coach from my Saturday team, Vikas. He's a lifelong Man United fan. Go and check out his Instagram page. It's Red Devil _London. And obviously, we've got the usual suspect, my boy Kiran. And today's topic is Manchester United versus Arsenal. The rivalry, the greatest rivalry in the Premier League era in our eyes. So, Kiran, I'm going to let you take it away first. Let's start.
Yeah. So, what I wanted to talk about was really where the rivalry came to an end, in my opinion, which was in 2005. So, I'll start a bit before that.
Let's start with the 90s. Let's start with the 90s.
So, as everyone knows, United, they were dominating the league really until Arsene Wenger arrived, and then in his first full season, he managed to break the stranglehold that United and Ferguson had on the league.
Yes, yeah.
And that was the real birth of the modern day Arsenal and United rivalry. And then they traded blows over the next 6 years. But going into the early 2000s, United obviously pipped us to the league by a couple of points in '99, and they knocked us out in the semi-final of the FA Cup that year as well.
Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Go on. Yeah. Because obviously, since you were talking about that, I thought, let me cheeky little, throw in. Don't worry, I've got a few more. I've got it from both sides, by the way. It's not just United related. I've got a few more. I've got this.
It helps. I think I still got some of Giggs' hairy chest on me, man. You know what I mean?
I've got, Kiran, I've got this one for you as well. Do you remember this one? This still hurts me till this day.
Listen,
Vikas, this one hurts.
That needs to be...
This one hurts. Silva and Wiltord. When they won the league at Old Trafford. Wow.
Yeah.
I was a kid then. Oh, my God.
Iconic, man. I think that's probably my favourite. I mean, even though the rivalry, even in its height, it was like really good, we never had much success at Old Trafford, really and truly. Our record at Old Trafford in the league is really poor. That's definitely my favourite memory of us playing at Old Trafford in that era. I mean, because even the year that we went unbeaten, Man United was the only team.
It was a 0-0, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah, when Van Nistelrooy missed a penalty, and when Keon thought he was in WWE.
That one there.
That one, yeah.
Yeah. See,
I'm prepared, boys. I'm prepared today. I'm prepared. We're gonna do
this.
When
Van Nistelrooy bottled it, yeah.
Yeah.
So going into the early 2000s, the rivalry, it was hot, man. I see a lot of people nowadays, they're trying to compare the Liverpool and the City rivalry.
Oh, leave it out.
Yeah, it's just, no. So that was a great time, to be a part of, it's one of those things, you had to be in the moment to understand exactly what it meant to be an Arsenal or United fan and play in those games and support the two teams at that time.
Of course, man. Like, it was just like, when we used to come to school, and obviously back then, we probably weren't as knowledgeable about the game as we are now. So it was all about, oh yeah, United are better than Arsenal are better than United, you're shit, we beat you. It was just that. It wasn't about, oh, you lost to flipping Bolton or you lost to Liverpool. It was, we beat you. That's what the rivalry was. I think that's what epitomized the rivalry back then. It went about all the other 38 games like it is now, 36 games.
Mm.
It was always to do with those two games that we used to play against each other. Every year until Mourinho came in.
That's that is really a testament to how good both teams were, was that usually the title was decided in those two games.
Yeah.
You know, you could guarantee that both teams would be in touching distance of each other until those games. Usually the latter one would be the deciding. Like in 2003, I remember at one point we were like 8 points clear.
Yeah, I remember that. I think, was that the year when Van Nistelrooy and Henry were neck and neck for the Golden Boot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I knew, because I was at that game at Highbury in April.
Oh, the 2-2. Was it the 2-2?
Yeah, 2-2.
The one with Campbell got sent off, innit? So
Yeah,
Campbell,
so Campbell got a red card. It was all kicking off.
Yeah. I knew at that point, you know, that having dropped points to United at that point in the season is curtains.
Well, even though you were 8 points clear?
Well, we weren't 8 points clear at that point.
Yeah.
Wow.
Our lead had been rescinded quite a bit. Sorry, it receded quite a bit. And yeah, I knew once it got down to a couple of points, United were now in front by a couple of points. You just knew the thing about United.
We were relentless, man.
Usually, when they had their grip on it, you know, Ferguson's teams were really good at holding on. Whereas, you know, the one regret I think Arsenal probably has, apart from not winning the 2006 Champions League final, would be that we weren't able to
retain
a title. But I you know, as much as that does disappoint me, I can hold my hands up and
you
say,
can stomach it, innit?
Because of the quality of opposition that took it from us. And then
yeah, go on, Vikas, sorry.
Oh, so yeah, going back to 2002, the one that 2003, the one that Kieran was on about. I remember that game specifically because it was 2-2, and I remember I was watching on the telly, and Ferguson was, you know, he was so happy. And now I'm in my head, obviously growing up, I was like, no, it's not a win. Like, I think Arsenal still had a game in hand or something, and I think they had to get bolted.
He went in a way. He went to that. I think that's one of very few games in his era where he could look at and he went, you know what? We only need a point here.
Yeah.
Just to keep the momentum going. And you know what? That's strange you say that because I remember that as well. Like at 2, I think they did. I think we went ahead. No, wait, hold on. They went ahead and Van Nistelrooy equalised when he scored the solo from the left side of the pitch when he ran and he dinked the goalkeeper. And then I think was it Ashley Cole, Kieran, that scored?
Yeah.
Remind me if I'm correct. Was it Ashley Cole?
Yeah, it was Cole.
And then Solskjaer at the back post. I think it was Solskjaer that scored the header at the back post. I remember it finished 2-2, but it was a bit of a scruffy game. I'm sure it was Solskjaer that scored the header.
10 men.
It was Campbell. It was Campbell elbow on Solskjaer.
Yeah, I remember that. Now I remember.
You got that image of Henry and the landsman.
That game we had, we were missing Seaman and we had Stuart Taylor in goal.
Oh yeah, I remember him. The long hair with the barnet.
And I remember watching. I was thinking at the time, had Seaman been in goal, I reckon he saves that that Van Nistelrooy.
Yeah, he possibly does. I just want to ask you one thing, Kieran. Obviously, Arsene Wenger, I mean, great manager. I got utmost respect for him.
Mm-hmm.
During that period, I mean, the thing that strikes me the most when I look back is the fact that, I mean, you touched up on it. Such a brilliant team, don't get me wrong. How were they not able to retain a league title is beyond me. What was going, like, what do you think was the issue back then? Was it that he didn't quite know what his best team was? Was it all this drama around, you know, Anelka coming in and, you know, having his, I think it was 2.5, 3 seasons and then moving on and then trying to potentially finding a replacement for him? What was the key factor then? Because for me, when I look back in the archives, when Arsenal signed Dennis Bergkamp, for me, that was the beginning. That was sort of the first piece of the jigsaw.
Well, Dennis Bergkamp actually came to Arsenal before Arsene Wenger. So Arsenal was kind of
so that was sort of the beginning of...
Walked in on Dennis Bergkamp. I don't think it was anything really to do with Arsenal, why we were unable to retain. But I think if you look at the United teams that lost the league, and then the ones that came the season after, they were always able to add in the areas where Sir Alex Ferguson probably thought we need to add, maybe not to the first, but to the squad. We need to add to the squad. Whereas Arsene was always he had to penny pinch. You know, a lot of people don't know, when we sold Anelka for 20 million to Real Madrid, that 20 million pounds built London Colney, Arsenal's training facility.
No
that they train
way. Did it cost 20
Yeah.
million? I mean,
20 million.
At the time.
At the time, yeah.
Bloody hell.
So that's the kind of finances that Arsene walked in on. There was no money, even at that time.
I mean, then
So-
he's an even greater genius than obviously we guys, me and
You know, a lot of
Vikas
people
know
say,
about.
Stan Kroenke is the one that really like brought down Arsene's legacy in the later years, but that's not true. Arsene Wenger was failed from 2004. The board were failing him because you've just gone unbeaten. You've had the best, debatably,
The best season ever. Yep.
in the
Hands down.
club's history.
I'm sorry, it is.
The team just stands still. Instead of bringing players in, we lose players. We lose Ray Parlour, we lose Martin Keown, we lose Edu, we lose Kanu, we lose Wiltord, and we haven't replaced any of them. We brought Fabregas through the academy. He's only 17 years old by that time. You know,
I think that was probably sort of that particular Wenger team, like aging and coming, you know, to an end.
Yeah.
Whereas Ferguson, he just went from strength to strength to strength. But you still got to give Arsene credit that even after, obviously, he moved into the Emirates, he had a few seasons where, I mean, you guys were up there. Maybe not to that same level, but, you know.
The competition grew as well because the brilliance of Arsene and the individuals that we had at the time meant that we could still compete, even if Man United went and spent 29 million on Ferdinand or 30 million on Rooney. It affected us, or 20 million on Varane, but not to an extent where that would be an excuse if Arsenal didn't win a trophy. But when Chelsea come along and spend 30 million on one player.
Shevchenko.
They signed Shevchenko, Kesman, Mutu.
Yeah, there was a shitload.
Drogba, Carvalho.
They nicked Iron Robben from United as well as Peter Kenyon. That scumbag.
I remember when Peter Kenyon left in 2003 to go to
snaked us to go to Chelsea, but at the same time we got David Gill in. Vikas, have you got anything to say about the rivalry during that period?
Wait, just dropping on what Kiran said. You know, obviously we know the era growing up, and to sum it up is that I remember when those days it was teletext and the fixtures would come out, and in those days in the late 90s and the early 2000s, you just be looking at when United and Arsenal play each other. Because like I said, it was mainly them two games that in the league. Whereas now, obviously, you look at other sort of teams because it's a competition and because where the two teams are. And I think that after that 2003 season when we won the league, and that's when Abramovich came to Chelsea, and I remember because there was reports that a unknown English club wanted to bid 35 million for Nesta, who was at AC Milan, and automatically you just thought it was either going to be United or Arsenal. Yeah. And then you first found out it was Chelsea, and then they're signing Glenn Johnson, Damien Duff, Joe Cole, and you're thinking, okay, what's sort of going?
That was sorry, Vix. That was under Ranieri, wasn't it? That was under Ranieri when they finished second, I think. They finished second. Yeah.
When Arsenal's Invincible, when Arsenal were the Invincibles, and then the season after, I remember. So obviously Jose came in, and it was United versus Arsenal. I think it was Valentine's Day in February 2004. and the 4-2 at Highbury. And then that game, when it would normally be a title decider,
it was bloody
that
third and
game,
fourth place, wasn't it, or something?
well, that game was whoever lost that game was inevitably out the title race, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just remember when John O'Shea scored that goal, and you're thinking, okay, this is strange. Normally, this game would be,
yeah,
like,
I think,
okay,
like,
win the title.
Like, not to mention Mourinho, obviously the season earlier, he came with Port at Old Trafford and he done his little customary jig down the touchline. But I think, I mean, once he came in, we were like, who's this guy, man? Who's this guy? Who's this Jose Mourinho? Like, let's see what he's about. And we fucking got to see what he was about, mate. And to be honest, I can say this hand on heart, I hated Chelsea more than I hated Arsenal. I think it was...
Yeah, because you tend to hate your biggest rivals, not enemy, the one who's challenged you closest. And I
think it was more to do with Chelsea, the fact that Chelsea had all this money to spend. Back then, it was all unheard of. Like, it used to, as a football fan, it used to make you jealous. Like, yo, how are they getting all this money, man? Like, how are they buying, Crespo and Mutu and, like, Makalé? Like, how are they buying all these players? Like, it used to annoy me so much, like, watching, they were so good. And it's not even, we thought, one season, they'll probably ease out, 2 years on the bounce. And then it makes you start to wonder, like, are United ever going to, like, back then you're thinking, shit, man, like, how are we ever going to recover from this? I mean, I'm sure as an Arsenal fan, you were thinking that as well. Like, this guy Mourinho has come to the league, he swiped everything. Like, I think in his 2 seasons, he won the Carling Cup, he won the league. Did he win the FA Cup as well? I don't think he won the FA Cup, but I'm sure.
No, he won it up in 2000, and when we won the league in 2007, I think that was his first FA Cup.
Yeah. I mean, like, he was just sweeping everything, Vikas. And as a United fan, you're just like, bloody hell, man. Like, Ferguson, come on, man, fix it up. And then.
But do you know, coming back, because I remember when you asked Kiran before about Arsenal retaining the title, and what always sticks in my mind about Ferguson, right? And looking back at the documentaries and even Paul Scholes recently on BT Sport, yesterday after the Europa League, he goes, Ferguson always, when we had won a title, Ferguson would have chats with the players individually, and he would look into the eyes to see if they had the same sort of passion and drive to retain that title.
Yeah, of course.
Right? If they weren't, then they'll be out the door. And Mo, you and I will both know, like, when Beckham left, when Van Nistelrooy left, all of us fans were thinking, hold on, how can we replace them? These are world class. These are our best players. What's going to happen? But he's just somehow had the knack of doing that because the board backed him. And this is why my respect for Arsene Wenger now goes a lot more higher. Recently, he did an interview, I think, in that Arabic channel, Bein Sports, where he mentioned about how he had to sell a marquee player every summer. And he had no choice but to do that. Whereas Ferguson had to sell players because either they weren't good enough for Man United or they wanted to leave Man United.
Attitude.
Whereas Arsene had no choice but to sell the Henrys, the Fabregases, because he said that we needed to sell them to move to the Emirates. And then that makes you wonder, like, okay, so even after selling these world-class star players at that time, he still managed to, let's be honest, compete in the top level. Because when we won the league in 07 and 08, I remember Arsenal, come February, Arsenal was still on top of the league.
I think it was the FA Cup game, the 4-0 FA Cup game, sort of just that kind of played a big part in that season. When we beat them 4-0 at Old Trafford. I think because we put out like a second string 11, I think it was. And Rooney was coming back from an injury, Nani was taking the absolute piss. And I think that game sort of, I mean, up until then, Arsenal were probably neck and neck favourites for the league. But I think like that, I'm sure that game had some sort of an impact on the rest of the season. Even when we beat them 2-1 at Old Trafford in the league and Hargreaves scored a free kick, that was a tight game, It
was tight, and before that, Arsenal were top of the league.
That's what I'm saying. Because I remember we had a game against Everton. Ronaldo had to score a penalty in the last minute, and Arsenal was sitting top of the league, and I think by 3 or 4 points. So you know, the competition was still there, but he just didn't have the resources that maybe Ferguson got.
I don't know about you, Mo, and I want to get Kieran's point of this, because as a United fan, during those times, even though Arsenal was still there in February, March, you always thought it would be United or Chelsea. At that point, I didn't really see Arsenal as, because they sort of had that perception that, okay, they might just eventually that, you know, they will just photo away, you know. And I want to know, like, you know, for Kieran, in those sort of times in 2006, 7, 8, in January, February, when you were on top of the league, you know, is that where you thought that the mindset changed, where the board just wanted top 4? They weren't like sort of like, yeah, well, let's push out and go for the league. The board were like, as long as we get top 4, we're happy.
No, you know when it became apparent to me in it was 2010 or 11. That was one of those years. I think it might have been 2011. Yeah, it was 2011, because I remember at that time, Theo Walcott's contract was coming to an end at Arsenal, or, you know, and they were talking about renewing, and he was iffing and butting because he wanted 100 grand a week, and at the time Arsenal's pay structure.
Sorry, Kieran. Theo Walcott wanted 100 grand a week.
Yeah, he did.
No comment.
But
Well, that happened because that thing came out. CEO
signed the thing. Signed the thing.
Yeah.
Walcott signed the thing.
So the pay structure was very rigid, but I remember thinking at the time, I don't want Walcott to go, but the way that this looks like it's playing out is like Theo Walcott is the pinnacle for this generation, and
that's disgusting, man. Sorry.
And it just kind of, at that point, you know, it sounds naive, to be honest. It feels naive looking back now, but at the time, I still had a hope that eventually they were going to loosen the purse strings for Arsene, because he proved himself year after year, even with less resources than those above him. And at that point, only 2 teams were really still above Arsenal, and that were United and Chelsea. But when they gave Walcott the 100 grand a week, and we lost the 2011 League Cup final to Birmingham, at that point, my heart sank, because I knew it's it. And then it was at that point that Stan Kroenke began having a stronger influence. At the time, his influence was minuscule compared to now. He's the complete owner.
Yeah.
At the time, he only owned a percentage, and it was Alisher Usmanov who was really the guy that we wanted to come to the fore now. But
when did David Dein leave?
David Dein was forced out in 2007, and he tried with Usmanov to buy the whole club.
Yeah.
But they
wouldn't let him. Yeah.
They wouldn't sell to the whole club to Usmanov and Dean, and instead began selling shares to Stan Kroenke, because they said that Usmanov and Dean's plans for the club were too radical and not with the traditions of the club, which is to be self-sustaining. Yeah. Whereas David Dein said, fuck that, we need to compete. Let Usmanov pump money into this club and give Arsene the funding he needs. Because remember that Arsene Wenger came to Arsenal because of David Dein.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize until a couple of years after that was probably the beginning of the end for Arsene. Like, when I say the end.
Wow.
Because that was his ally. Not Peter Hillwood, who was the chairman, not Danny Fisman, not Nina Bracewell Smith, not Chips Keswick. David Dean was the real ally of Arsene Wenger.
His right-hand man, basically.
It's basically
Yeah.
like Ferguson and David Gill.
Yeah, Ferguson and David Gill. Yeah, 100%. You can relate. Yep.
Yeah, but the difference is that Ferguson had shown he could work without David Gill beforehand, whereas Arsene had never worked without David Dean before, and Ferguson had shown enough at United to be the lord of the club.
Yeah.
Whereas Arsene, no matter what he achieved, he was always underneath somebody.
Yeah.
And that was a mistake because, you know, we are where we are today, where Stan Kroenke owns 100% and is unwilling to really loosen the purse strings for the coach. But yeah, in 2011 is when I realized, you know what, Arsenal, and I said this before, I'll say it again, Arsenal will not win another league title in my lifetime. They won't.
Wow.
Because
They won't.
you don't think that the Kroenkes would invest that much into the team? Nothing to do with the manager, the coach. It's just because of the investment that's needed within the team.
But it's not just about the investment, but it's also a losing or losers mentality that's crept in over the last decade.
Getting emotional in here, boy.
And by that I mean, you know, our club like Arsenal, the third most successful club still
In the
even though
country.
we're for 15, 16 years now, we're still the third most successful team in British football history, and yet, you know, it was okay. There was no one really taking the manager or the players to task for consistently finishing fourth, third, fourth, poor cup runs, poor European campaigns, no league. Some seasons, Arsenal were out of the title race by December. By April, they're sweating to get into the top four. That's not acceptable. That shouldn't be acceptable. And that doesn't come from... That comes obviously with the players, then the manager, and then, you know, above him. But from early, from like 2010, 11, you know, you're thinking, all right, we ain't won the league for 6 years at that point. Well, what's going on? When is the next title charge coming? And it didn't come.
We feel the same, man. The last 7-8 years has been the same for us, isn't it, Vix?
But the difference with United is that eventually, just like it happened for City, it didn't look like anything was happening. They just throw money at the team, But eventually, they got the right manager and the right set of players, and it happened for them. And the same will happen for United. I see United winning the title in the next couple of years, but they have to stick with the manager and invest correctly, because they've made bad investments, just like Arsenal have over the last few years. The only difference is that United were better than us to begin with. So the bad investments haven't hindered you as much as they have for us. All
right, I've got some stats for you guys. So the total meetings between obviously Arsenal and Manchester United, 235. Arsenal have won 85. We've drawn 53, and Manchester United have won 97. And the rivalry dates back since the 1919. Obviously, it only became fierce in the late 90s and the early 2000s. Before we wrap up, obviously, looking from the 90s to the 2000s, it can be from any season. This is a question to both of you, and then I'll give my answer. If you can look at one season and pick one game, it can be one season or 2 seasons, 3 seasons, whatever, but pick one game from each of those seasons and explain why you feel that game was important. Kiran, I'll start with you.
Is that an Arsenal United game?
No, it can be any game. It can be any game from your invincible season, from when you won the double, from, it could be anything.
Okay. Well, I think the game that really springs to mind for me is it's not my favorite one, but I think it's the most important league game probably of Arsenal's tenure at the club is the game against Liverpool at Highbury in 2004.
Thierry. Was it the Thierry one?
Yeah, you know,
my God.
the previous week we lost 1-0 to Man United in the FA Cup.
Scalzi.
And we went out to Chelsea in the Champions League when Wayne Bridge, of all people, somehow managed to score a goal and knock us out. And that's at Highbury as well. We lost.
It was the semi-final, second leg, wasn't it?
No, it was a quarter-final.
Quarter-final.
Chelsea went out in the next round, Monaco.
Yeah, and then Abramovich's first season, isn't it?
Yeah, his first season. I think when they had Ranieri.
Yeah. So that game was important because coming off the back of 2 cup exits, 2 really painful ones as well, because we didn't really play well against Man United. And we were winning the tie and the game against Chelsea, and they came from behind to beat us. When we beat them 3 times that season already.
Yeah, I think Reyes, rest in peace, Reyes, I think that was his debut, wasn't it, when he scored the 2 goals in the FA Cup?
It wasn't his debut, but it was his first 2 goals.
Yeah, his first 2 goals, yeah.
Yeah, he scored an own goal in his debut. But, rest in peace, Reyes. I liked him a lot. But, yeah, that game was important because having gone out of those 2 cups that same week, and then we went a goal behind against Liverpool, everybody, the whole stadium was quiet. I remember.
Kiran, I remember watching an Henry documentary, and he came out and he said, like, all the energy was sucked out of the crowd that day.
It was,
And when he scored that, I think it was the second goal where he picked the ball up, spun Carragher, 4-5 man, stuck it into the bottom corner. He was like, he felt the stadium breathe again. Like, yo, come on now. Yeah. And you know what, like, for me, it doesn't get mentioned a lot, but I feel like that hat-trick against Liverpool, in those circumstances, I think that deserves more recognition, you know. I mean, obviously, people know Thierry Henry was a great player and he scored, probably Arsenal's highest ever goal scorer. But, like, in terms of, like, me remembering an individual performance, like, obviously, as a fan of Thierry, 2 moments stick out for me that season. Obviously, the Liverpool hat-trick, but the 4 goals against Leeds. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, definitely.
Disgusting. To score 4 goals and 2 of them where you pick the ball up at the halfway line and just...
Low, yeah.
I still watch that game till today and I just think, mate, how's he making Highbury look so small? I mean, it was a small pitch, but I think it's because he had the long strides and he was a tall lad.
Yeah.
But what
strong as well. Very
player.
Difficult.
What a player. I have so much respect for him, even till this day. So much respect.
He was the definition, Henry, of someone that would drag the team through. That season that Arsenal got to Champions League final, right? Okay, there was that performance away at Madrid.
I think it was
the
semi-final.
Was the first leg?
Second leg.
No,
the first leg.
It was the first leg where he scored a goal, right?
Yeah.
And
he's barging Ronaldo, Beckham, Guti, Carlos. Move, get out the way. I'm the king here.
I think he'd be like a young Sergio Ramos, if I'm not mistaken. Somewhere along those lines or something.
And he got robbed of the Ballon d'Or that year as well. Which is a shame, to be honest. And how he never won the Ballon d'Or, I don't know, man.
But it's crazy because coming back to the Arsene Wenger thing, when he said which other players that he sold did he sort of like regret the most? Everyone, I would have thought he said Henry, but for him, he said it was Fabregas. Wenger said it, when he sold Fabregas, that was the one which hurt him. I'm not sure if he said the one he regrets, but you could see that he felt like, oh yeah, that's the one where I didn't want to let go. Because Henry gave like 8 years or so he deserved
he was
to
coming
choose.
to an end. He was coming to an end.
I think he got the move at the right time as well for his career, because you could tell, like, from watching the Arsenal games every week, that Thierry wasn't the same Thierry that he was in previous years. He wasn't as quick, and he was a scorer of great goals, but he was no longer a great goal scorer. He wasn't going to give you 30 goals anymore.
Yeah, he lost that yard of pace as well, didn't he?
He did, and
Well,
it was
Champions
time.
League after they beat us in Rome. Is it Rome? Yeah, after they beat us,
Yeah.
he won the Champions League, isn't it?
Yeah, Barcelona, innit?
Hmm.
But yeah, Kieran, what other games apart from that Liverpool game?
Another game.
From any season, it doesn't have to be Invincibles. It can be from any season.
I think the game that we, a game I really liked was from the 04-05 season, the first season that Chelsea won the league. We were at home to Middlesbrough.
Oh, yeah, 5-3.
Yeah, and I remember
The football.
we were missing players that day as well, which isn't spoken about. With no Vieira, no Sol Campbell, and so that's like two of the main players in the team, the best centre back and the best midfielder in the country at the time. And we went 1-0 up with Thierry, and then we went 3-1 down. And I remember looking and thinking, what's going on?
Yeah.
What is? And it sounds strange, but it had been so long since Arsenal lost a game.
Yeah, so you just forgot how it feels, basically.
Yeah, I think that's the reason as well why the game that we lost the invincible run in at Old Trafford hurts so much, because that game was marred in controversy, and I don't believe that the better team won the game.
No, definitely not. We were just playing dirty, man. We just wanted to injure your players.
Yeah,
that was the game plan. That was the game. Yeah, you should have been sent off.
Paul Scholes,
Phil Neville, Rooney diving, Van Nistelrooy should have got arguably a second yellow. Yeah,
Ferdinand should have been off as well.
I think the ref just when he was I think Ljungberg was through on goal when
taking him down. Nothing. Mike Riley, I'll never if there's one referee, I ever remember his name, it's Mike Riley.
What about Howard Webb? Kieran, what about Howard Webb?
Oh, the 12th
He's a United fan, man. He's our 12th man.
The 12th man. Yeah,
half of these managers knew what to do when Ferguson was in charge, man, because they
knew what one, innit? They knew what one. He's coming into your office at full time, bro. Hairdryer, yeah?
Only that. 2 games of football ever brought me to tears. And that was one of them, and the other one was the Champions League final. Because both games, I really felt as though the result was very unjust.
Sorry, Kieran, to interrupt you, but when you just mentioned that Champions League final, I remember Thierry's 1-on-1. Oh yeah, my God!
And what hurts the most?
He went and joined Barcelona the year after.
The year after,
he literally said to Valdez, "Here you go, mate. You're going to be my teammate next year. Here, have it. Here, straight to your arms. Have it." All right,
and
I thought when Kevin said what hurt the most, I thought he was going to say that a Barcelona right back scored in Belletti, not Eto'o, all these ones. Was it Belletti, innit?
Yeah, it was Belletti. Yeah. But to be fair to them, I mean, Arsenal done well in that game, man, because no one gave them a sniff of a chance. Obviously, at the time, Ronaldinho, the best player in the world, Ronaldinho, he's going to come and run the show. He didn't run nothing that day. It was all Henrik Larsson that come off the bench and, changed the game. Ronaldinho didn't do anything. Arsenal shackled him quite well that day.
We played the game for 10 men for about 70 minutes.
Do you know what? You know what I respect the most about that game? Even though you lost, you played the game and not the occasion.
Yeah. If you look at goals that Barca score as well, if you scrutinise them, it's two mistakes from the goalkeeper.
Yeah, I mean, he let
a goalkeeper that shouldn't be on the pitch.
To be honest, before Lehmann, I think Lehmann was the one that got sent off, right? Someone was through on goal, play the advantage.
Julie had scored.
Play the advantage.
Give the goal and give Lehmann a yellow. But instead,
who got subbed off? Who got subbed off? Was it Almunia that came on?
Yeah, it was Almunia, but I think it was Ljungberg.
Robert Perez got taken off.
Oh, that's hard,
Baller as
bro.
well. Baller.
He said
But then
in that
cough in it.
day, that was the day he realised his Arsenal career is over.
Yeah, that's
yeah, he knew, man.
all right. I'm gonna come to you, Vikas. Obviously, in our glory days, what moments from any season, what moments stand out for you, and why?
You know, I'm not going to go a bit mainstream and talk about the semi-final or when we won the Champions League. For me, yeah, growing up, there were just two different seasons and 2 points of different seasons. One of them is we played Fulham away in 2007. We hadn't won the league in about three seasons. Yeah, we hadn't won the league in 3 seasons, and at that point, you're thinking, bloody hell, we're gonna win the league again, you know. And we were doing, and obviously you had that whole Ronaldo in the World Cup saga with him and Rooney. Yeah, and it was Fulham away, and it was 1-1, right? And I think in the 87th minute, Ronaldo scored a brilliant solo goal. All right, yeah, it took a deflection, but I'm gonna still say it was a brilliant solo goal. And I will always remember that because of the celebration, right? Because
the huddle,
the huddle, the way and yeah, that's when it first finally kicked in for me that hold on, we could be actually winning the league again. Because legitly, I did not think that was going to happen because Chelsea at that point with Mourinho were just looking unstoppable. Because the last 2 seasons they didn't win the league, they blew other teams out of the way, you know, and it was remarkable. And then you're just thinking, and in that summer we just signed Carrick and Larson and one of or someone else. So it wasn't like a marquee signing because Michael Carrick at that point, I mean, he even for England, he wasn't no Steven Gerrard or Frank Lampard.
He was a bit part player.
You know, he wasn't that big signing, and you're thinking, bit part player, you know, and you're thinking, yeah, good player, but United standard, you know. But then, yeah. So for me, that was great for one, and my second one is in 2009, and. Simply, even though we won the league, getting a point against Arsenal at home, it's not that. It's I think it was the game before, right? We played Wigan away, and the reason why this game because it was the first time that Liverpool, at that point, ever came close to winning the league.
Yeah.
You know, and that's when the sort of rivalry between Liverpool and United kind of came back up again, because now there was a title involved, whereas before, and Kiran might say the same about Spurs. You know, obviously before, when it was all about Arsenal United, you wanted to beat your closest rivals, but you wouldn't mind losing to a Tottenham or Liverpool.
Back then, yeah, because they were irrelevant.
Yeah, if you won the league and you beat Arsenal or you beat United, if you're Arsenal fans. But yeah, that team when Liverpool tried it in 2009 and we were 1-0 goal down to Wigan at half time. Yeah, and
was it Tevez and Carrick?
It was Tevez that came on, right? Or he started, he got the goal, and then Carrick
left foot. Yeah, top bins. Yeah.
Left foot.
Scenes, man. Scenes.
When we came back to win that, because that was like, yeah, now it's ours to lose, right? And when you know it's yours to lose, the worst feeling of football is probably when you have to rely on other teams, right? Especially if you have to rely on a team that you don't bloody like. You know what I mean? You don't want to be in that position. So if it's yours to lose, then you rather take that. But yeah, them two, man, just come to mind. Simply won 2007 because we hadn't won the league, and 2009 because it pipped us to our closest rivals. Little did I know, 11 years later, they won it. But yeah, at that time, it was good times, man.
Fairs. Okay, so mine, I'm going to be similar to you, Vikas. I'm not going to pick the obvious ones. Obviously, you got Turin semi-final. I'm not going to go, obviously, that far because I was too young to remember that. There was one game against Fulham at Old Trafford in the 2002-03 season. Van Nistelrooy scored a hat-trick. And one of the goals was, you know, when he picked the ball up from the halfway line. And that, I thought that sort of just epitomised Van Nistelrooy in a nutshell that season. He was just...
He nutmegged someone as well, didn't it?
Yeah. I think he took past a couple of players. He stuck his head down and he just carried on running.
That was an Henry type.
Yeah, that was Henry type goal, innit? And another one I'd say was from the 2007-08 season where Ronaldo scored all those 42 goals. He was given the captaincy against Bolton. And I think we won that game 3 or 4-0. I can't remember the exact scoreline. And he scored a free kick in that, and he equaled Georgie Best's record. And when he scored that free kick, it was, the normal knuckleball. And obviously the Portsmouth one, I'd say those three. But that's when I looked at Ronaldo and I thought, you know what? Like the kid's, he's unplayable, man.
Got a player here.
Yeah, we've got a player here. And funny enough, he gave us one more season, which was nice of him. But we all knew he was going to go anyway. But yeah, man, like I'd say those 3 games probably stand out for me. I know it's probably a bit boring. The viewers are probably thinking, why didn't you go for the 8-2s and the 6-1s and all this? But sometimes football it's not about the big scorelines. It's about moments that you look at and you think, yeah, like I remember that. Like that was probably a stepping stone for example, for someone like Ronaldo to elevate his status as the world's best. So sometimes it's about like moments that you remember. It's not just about your favorite match.
There's a saying in football, isn't that when you win like a teams, they might win like a 1-0 that they battle, a gritty win, and you say, yeah, those are the type of matches that we will look back on at the end of the season. I think,
yeah.
Is that sort of one? But sorry, Kieran, just want to get your thoughts on United. Like which United out of the treble season or 2008 did you rate more?
Did you fear the most? Did you fear the most? Which one did you fear the most?
Honestly, the 2008 team is better. It was better team, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think
in terms of quality, definitely.
In terms of quality, not just that, but that team. I think if you put them if you put that United team in the previous, I'd say 7 or 8 Champions League finals the years previous to them being in that cycle, they win all of them. They beat every team. They beat Liverpool. They beat Milan. They beat Madrid. They beat everybody. They were that good. I think the 08 team, honestly, is very, very underrated in terms of not just great United teams, but great teams in general, especially because that team was built at a time when the team, for the first time in Ferguson's career, he's facing a team that have unlimited resources above him. Usually he's the one who's got more money than anyone else. Hence, when United can spend 29 million on one player at the time, which was unheard of for any other team in England. But when Chelsea are doing it on 4 or 5 players in one window, and he still managed to break that stranglehold with that team, I mean, that was a very special team.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, obviously, like I said earlier, like when we saw that Chelsea team when Mourinho came in and he won 2 years in a row, their first title in 50 years. As a United fan at the time, you're thinking, fucking hell, man, like, what we got to do to stop these? Because we failed the first season that he came in. I mean, they were by far the best team. I think they scored the most goals or whatever. They had, at the time, the record number of points, wasn't it? Like 86, 87. No, 95, yeah.
95, yeah.
And then you're thinking...
conceded ridiculously low as well, man.
Yeah, Carvalho and John Terry, Makelele there, that was, when you look at that, you think, wow, okay, this is going to be some feat to break these down. And then they come back the season later. That's when Drogba really started to find his feet, because I remember the first season, he was up and down a little bit. He really struggled. And then the season later, I always remember them having the gold sort of like outline on their kit, on the Umbro kit, and Samsung's mobile or something or whatever.
Yeah.
And that season they were unplayable as well. And then obviously we've just signed, on the back of that, we've just signed Rooney. We've got a young Ronaldo. We're still building. And you're thinking, he's just done it 2 in a row. Like, when is it going to be our time? And, obviously at the time, you're just hoping for the best. You're just thinking, automatically. I mean, we were in school then, Kiran, so we were probably just thinking, Chelsea are just going to run away with it again.
No, do you know what? It's funny. I actually wasn't, I was actually naive in thinking that because Arsenal have done it previously. You know, you lose a title,
You win it back.
and you come back. You know,
I mean, I just didn't see any way we were going to break that Mourinho stranglehold at the time, which is understandable. But
I don't think
after seeing, you know, Ronaldo, Rooney at the World Cup and all this drama, and obviously that summer was torrid for United fans because it was,
I would have been happy.
we're going to get rid of Ronaldo. We're going to get rid of Ronaldo because he got Rooney sent off, and he's going to get this. He's going to get this much abuse, and he's going to be public enemy number one. And imagine they had a fight because the papers were building that up from when England got knocked out to the start of the season. They were building that up, and you're thinking, right, Ronaldo's a young lad. How is he going to cope with this? You know, any other player like Di Maria, for example, his ass got robbed. He became a pussy. And he went to PSG. Whereas Ronaldo, Ferguson really put his arm around him and said, listen, Cristiano, you know, whatever's happened is happened. You're a great player. Rooney's a great player. Why don't you two, you're back here at Man United. The clubs are going to, the fans are going to love you because you saw that with Beckham as well when he got sent off in 98 against Argentina. He was getting all this hate from the British media and fans alike. And Ferguson obviously put his arm around him and said, listen, mate, you know, don't worry about it. Now it's all about club football. And you know what?
Queiroz.
Yeah, Queiroz as well it was a big factor, very big factor. And not to forget that at the end of that season, 2006, 2007, we just lost Van Nistelrooy as well. I'm just going to throw that one in there.
Yeah, I think, you know, I didn't fully appreciate at the time just how important a club's finances were in comparison to what they have on the pitch.
That's true.
So, I was expecting what we got, you know, best or second best coach in the league, because at the time, one league title from Mourinho doesn't make him the best or anywhere near.
No, but it's the manner in which they did it. I mean, obviously the rest of us were like United at the time. We were still building. We was like, you could say that was the start of a new team for Ferguson. So obviously when you see, like, if you look back on history, especially for, you know, the kids or the young adults that were born, like, I don't know, say past that era, if they look at that particular season and see 95 points, they're probably going to think, yo, Chelsea just came and blitzed everyone. Which, to be fair, they possibly did, because I remember that season, like, they were going into every game 3-0, 4-0, tight 1-0, 2-1, 3-1. Obviously, they lost a few games, but it's the manner. For me, it was the manner in which...
They lost one game.
Yeah, they lost one game the whole bloody season. I mean, and previously, Arsenal were the only team to hold that record, like, go a whole season without losing a game. So if you look at that, I mean, not knowing what went on back then, you're probably looking at that and thinking, yo, like, these little blitzed everything. And then obviously City came and they took it to another level. But again, that was down to, obviously, talking about finances, that was down to finances, teams around him not having the financial power to compete, board issues with other clubs. So, yeah.
I would say that, you know, those wins, as impressive as they are on paper, to me, they will never match up to the achievements of what Arsenal did in the late 90s and early 2000s, because, you know, they were not operating on anywhere near the budget of a Chelsea or a City, and as well, the league was more competitive then in terms of, you know, some of these games that I see City playing, especially like this, it's like friendlies.
Yeah, the levels are like just Man astounding.
Look like they're going to win the league without a striker. That's a terrible indictment on.
You can't even do that. Like back in our days, like that was never possible. That was unheard of.
On the Premier League, that Chelsea, that Man City are going to win the league with no striker. That means that the league is that poor. Is that poor that a team with no striker can win? It's bad.
Well, you look at the top scorers. They're not. I think the
What
top.
is it?
The
Salah and
top two,
Bruno. Salah and Bruno.
they're not even out number nines. You know, and the next one is Bamford or K. I must be mistaken, but yeah, I mean, and that's why you see, like, who would have thought growing up there would have been a false nine? If someone told me there's a false nine, I would have thought
Oh,
some next
snap your
TV
head off,
program or
mate.
something. Yeah, what the hell's this? You know, 4-4-2. Now you see, everything's changed. In our day, it was 4-4-2.
That's my formation, Vikas. I don't know about you
Yeah,
guys. That is me on a
yeah.
nutshell. I mean, you try that sometimes in our Saturday games as well, don't you? Like sometimes you like to switch it up.
4-4-2 for me is always the best. It's simple. Everyone knows their job, right? It's basic, okay? And if each individual just does hard work, the basics in football, it can work, right? But I think that will change when, you know, England, the national team, tried with this diamond system, and then when Mourinho came in, and then obviously like
He tried a
I don't know.
4-5-1. He tried a 4-5-1. That became a
because-
norm. And then 3-5-2. Italy, we saw it when they won the World Cup. I think it was in 2006.
Yeah. And then as times went on, right, United, we went to 4-3-3, obviously to try and fit Rooney, Tevez, Ronaldo in. I'm not sure about Arsenal if they've always been like 4-4-2 or who was up there when Van Persie was captain. I mean,
once
It was Arshavin. He used to play Arshavin up there with him as well, innit?
once
Sometimes.
Thierry was gone, Arsenal went to a 4-3-3 with Eduardo, Walcott, and Adebayor, and sometimes you had Hleb, and then the three-man midfield, and then slowly Arsenal changed again. He went to 4-2-3-1, which I'm not a fan of, by the way. And then in his last year, when he saw that but their defense is just awful, he went to a three-man defense for the first time, I think, in his whole career, 40-year career. And the first time, a 4-4-2 is the best formation, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Because you get, it's perfectly balanced. But as with any system, any formation, any team, you need the right players to play the system. They have to all be willing.
Leicester won just what 4 years ago.
Yeah.
4-4-2. You know.
Yeah.
Vardy and is it Ozaki or
Okazaki, yeah, or Ujoa, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, boys. Yeah, let's end it on that bombshell. It was great speaking to you, boys. Obviously, to all the viewers, like, share, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Follow Coach Vikas's Instagram page, RedDevil_London.
somewhere there underneath, yeah.
Somewhere there underneath, yeah. Yeah, it's been a pleasure speaking to you guys, and hopefully in the future we can cook up some more of these videos. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves.
Yeah, cheers for the invite, man.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Thank you, bro.